Vice President Kamala Harris on Friday rebuked the Florida Board of Education's new standards for how Black history will be taught in schools, calling it an effort by extremist leaders to spread propaganda. Speaking in Jacksonville, Harris said the recently approved curriculum, which suggests some slaves reaped benefits from the skills they acquired during forced labor, was based on a policy intent on misleading children. They want to replace history with lies, Harris said. These extremist, so-called leaders should model what we know to be the correct and right approach if we really are invested in the well-being of our children. Instead, they dare to push propaganda to our children. This is the United States of America. We're not supposed to do that. The Florida Board of Education approved new standards Wednesday in a 216-page document detailing how public schools should approach Black history, including teaching students that some enslaved people acquired useful skills that could be used for their personal benefit. How is it that anyone could suggest that in the midst of these atrocities that there was any benefit to being subjected to this level of dehumanization? Harris said. Recounting her own schooling, the vice president said she was the product of a public school system where teachers provided the full expanse of information and encouraged students to then reach their own conclusions and exercise critical thought in a way that was directly intended to nurture their leadership. It is because of that approach that I stand before you as Vice President of the United States, she said. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who earlier this year blocked an advanced placement African American Studies course from being taught to high schoolers in his state, blasted Harris's visit in a statement on Twitter. Democrats like Kamala Harris have to lie about Florida's educational standards to cover for their agenda of indoctrinating students and pushing sexual topics onto children, the GOP presidential candidate tweeted. Florida stands in their way, and we will continue to expose their agenda and their lies. Before delivering her remarks, Harris said she met with local leaders, including Representative Sheila Cherfilus McCormick, 2 Democrats from the state legislature, civil rights lawyer Ben Crump and Derek Johnson, president and CEO of the NAACP. In May, the NAACP issued a travel advisory for Florida, calling the state openly hostile toward African Americans, people of color, and LGBTQ+ individuals. The group also rebuked the updated Black history curriculum, emphasizing the importance of students learning that the horrors of slavery and Jim Crow were a violation of human rights and represent the darkest period in American history. William Allen and Frances Presley Rice, who are members of Florida's African American History Standards Work Group, defended the standards in a statement earlier this week, calling them rigorous and comprehensive, and said the update that has drawn intense criticism showed that some slaves developed highly specialized trades from which they benefited. Harris on Friday urged Americans to face rather than forget history. Our history as a nation is born out of tragedy and triumph. That's who we are. Part of that is what gives us our grit, she said. So let's reject the notion that we would deny all of this in terms of our history. Let us not be seduced into believing that somehow we will be better if we forget it. We will be better if we remember.